we have Robert Glück. Robert is a poet, fiction writer, editor, and new narrative theorist. With Bruce Boone and other writers, Glück founded the new narrative movement in San Francisco in the early 1980s. His experimental work, typically prose, infuses language theory with queer, feminist, and class-based discourse while exploring issues of autobiography and self. Glück has also served the director of San Francisco State's Poetry Center and been a coordinator of other centers and editor for various journals, for example, and editor for Lapis Press. Welcome, Robert Glück, to the stage.
Thank you. How does this sound? Can I speak at this level? Can you hear me? Is that all right? Okay. I feel very welcome this weekend. I recently moved to Sweden. This is my new home. So we have an image. The piece I'm about to read, part of the piece, was written to accompany a show of large format photos by Arnold Kemp at the second floor projects in San Francisco. So you can see, or maybe possibly you can see, that these are actually just scraps of tinfoil with a very, like a rudimentary face scrunched out of them. So, my last day, an essay. Sounds very booming in here. Morning. To define tasks, rules of conduct, and legitimate ends. The world is taken like a test. Outside, the sun is straightening up. The appointments I make, the tasks, the general goals, or I go online to look around in the tide pools of representation. Water, are you lying? These faces, separated from their first hierarchies, are more and more perceived as expressions of the collective grandeur of the people and their monolithic celebrations. It's inspiring to suck air out of the dead man's mouth. A lesson we reliably fail to learn is that a grasp of the genre does not save us from the crazed killer or the minimalist ghost that de-stories the distinction between life and death. Not a false premise. The flower swells under the petals, looks a little achy, and then the bruise expands into a pear. The swelling ache occurs during the flowering, and that organic gloom compels me on this last day of dying. Redistribution of forms of experience equals the transformation of forms of experience. Folks, life is an impossible burden if you have no idea what to do with it. Though in these metal faces, there is a possibility of becoming conscious of myself as the object of death's gaze, or the actualization of death in my life, or even the practice of death as I continually adjust to my failure to exist. Not only the ultra-dangerous, but fears heightening the self's awareness of self, compatible cliches. The place is small enough so that we feel we are stepping into the sky. A cloudy dawn, cloudy week, So now we are in the sunlight. Ecstasy is nothing if it does not transport itself in our gossip, the shifting ground of the finite. Ecstasy unfolds our gray matter as it does Our Lady's mantle, but to say much more would spoil the fun. That was morning, and here's night. The loss of collective experience is regained with the development of the interrupted sky. A photo by Carlton Watkins. I read it through the eyes of Kathy Acker. The perfection of the combination of male and female, and so without tension, the ideal landscape of the West, empty, boring, and ecstatic. Several images I read through the eyes of Kathy, an art forum project, how the photos are male-female without tension. That is beauty, Kathy observed about an androgynous young man, polished. Let me in, cries the skeleton, banging at the mirror. You are in, I say. The skeleton bravely shoots dead groups. A disaster has already taken place, as though a deathbed held him against me. The skeleton is animated. Attend his micro-expressions, face in the digital age. It snarls, "The camera sucks my dick." I laugh, afraid it will hurt me. Non-being calls to me, but it's my words that have the stale quality, the phrases of the undead. I say in my dead voice, if there is no more sense, there is no more nonsense, and that, fellow citizens. Deep staleness and lack of wonder, feelings of just having jacked off. My flesh opens and closes like a bivalve. This writing is not exactly for itself, and not for you either. Not for me, and not for language. It's not a natural process, though it's not so different from sky effects. In that sense, these words are sculpted more than spoken, out of sheer space, in a region without shape or gravity, a waste marginal, not owing life anything, without responsibility to life. Folks, the past tense is an archive. The examination of conscience is an exercise in memory. What a wonderful thing it is to be an American. We are able to forget everything. Our systems expire. We are not on the brink, and we are not between, and we do not owe space our presence. This page is where I can be weeping on the floor disconsolately, and yet typing at the keyboard where I can see my face reflected in the screen. If we feel compassion for ourselves and for you, it is not so much that I feel compassion as that compassion is a kind of language or commerce that does not waste good suffering. And perhaps its Arctic speech unmistakes the night, though we do not owe you clarity. Thank you.